And now, our feature presentation.
Be a big man to compete in the NBA.
Not us, Shorty.
That's right. Allen and Jerome. That's us. We gonna creep on in.
Creeping like a creeper.
And drop some Stephon Marbury inner city funk. I'd love to see the face of the fool trying to D my slamming moves to the hole. Yo, David, you may be bigger than me, but you need to get yourself some copper tone lotion.
Why that, baby?
Cause you just got burned.
So in San Antonio, an update on free agency, we sacrificed 2 of my 4 homeboys from the back half of last year's team in Mamu and B-Wes, as well as Branham and CP3 for Cornette, Olenek, Waters III, and my newest homeboy in San Antonio, David Jones Garcia, who tore that shit up like Terry Labonte in the Summer League, and rightfully earned a spot with the big boy Spurs team come October for that very reason. So with that being said, will he live up to my expectation in San Antonio for my 29th year as a Spurs fan and do what Trey Jones sadly couldn't do for me in 2021-22 and beyond? Replicate that Summer League success into the Big Boy League? Only time will tell. Tune in this October to find out. And in the world of NASCAR, the Winston Cup, Busch Grand National, and Craftsman Truck Series all will be racing at a new facility in 2026 in San Diego at the Naval Base Coronado, meaning the Chicago Street Course is no longer on the schedule, at least for 1 year. Who knows, maybe more. And with this schedule change for 2026, that potentially leaves the door wide open for an empty slot for the 4th of July weekend. Could we potentially see the Tropicana 400 at Chicagoland Speedway return, like NASCAR is like hyping up a little bit? Not a lot, a little bit. Well, hopefully so, but if not, okay, fine. It's not the end of the world. So on this After Dark edition of In the News, let's talk about the latest, update in the Spurs offseason, saga, and, talk about, the first of the 2026 NASCAR schedule changes, and do a brief, Brickyard 400 preview, and a miniature recap of this Thursday edition of Coming in Clutch. So therefore, yeah, so I apologize I did not get this video out sooner, because on Monday I came home from work, was getting comfortable in bed, waiting on my phone battery before going outside in Sandy Ridge and watching YouTube, and I ended up getting too comfortable falling asleep. 22nd was a good day. It was Alex Trebek's birthday, and my number 1 boy best friend, Caden Clapham's birthday too, or they respectively would have been Carl Long, 85 years of age in heaven, and on this earth, my number 1 boy best friend, aka Mayan and Emily's son, future godfather, has turned Bobby Labonte 18 years old. The 23rd, he got the 23rd, yesterday, technically 2 days ago, because it's past, 2 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast of Northeast Ohio. That's why I said After Dark edition of In the News. I fell asleep again before I had a chance to come outside, waiting out the phone battery, got too comfortable. But then today, we finished strong. We came in the clutch and had a barn burner at work. We had a carnival day. It was a summer camp week, which has officially come and gone, and then, has officially come to an end until next summer, 2026, for season 6 of Fun in the Sun. I mean, I had no motivation to do it this year, unfortunately, because this wonky schedule the last 2 weeks has been throwing everything out of whack for me. But we will be back in the fight of normalcy on Tuesday, because Monday I have a doctor appointment. I am not sure if I'm recording that, probably not, but if I do, then you'll see it. But if you don't see it, then you'll know why. So therefore, I have to get a physical done, and there's other stuff I can't talk about. But I mean, I'm allowed to. I just choose to not to, because YouTube doesn't need to know exactly everything. So therefore, it's nothing serious. It's just a basic checkup to make sure I was about to say what it is about, but I'm just choosing not to. It's just a personal choice. But anyway, hopefully it goes well and that, we end up getting a good result out of it. So we will be back to our regular schedule daily lives on Tuesday as we get ready to approach, the closing stages of season 5 of Fun in the Sun, aka the 5th season of summer production here on YouTube and TikTok. So therefore, oh yeah, the carnival day. So yeah, Emily took a video of me singing and dancing to Earth, Wind, and Fire, Let's Groove, even though she missed the part with the barbecue dance in the intro. And Jessica brought in her daughter Liliana today, well, technically yesterday, and she got attached to Emily too, big time. But she also really liked me too. Was even dancing with both of us separately, individually, and it was a grand old time. I mean, I got to bring my Live and La Vida Labyrinth fanfics from 2016 as a 22-year-old young adult, and with me, and with my session with Cassie today, or technically yesterday, she was the first person from my current job at VideoQuest to read any of my La Vida Labyrinth fanfics from the pre-pandemic days of OG Sandy Ridge, when I was like in my early 20s. So she was the first one to read it. So I hope I can get more of my VideoQuest peers, to read those fanfics to see how much of a different person I was at age 20 in my early 20s compared to my early 30s. Even if it means you have to see it through fan fiction rather than old ass social media posts, but it was a great day. It was a great day. It was a barn burner, even though Sandy Ridge was quiet. You can find my Sandy Ridge recap video, a nightly Sandy Ridge recap video on my TikTok and my Instagram. I thought about posting it to Facebook, but I decided against it at the last minute. But yeah, so anyway, now before we get to the elephant in the room, I want to do a brief Brickyard 400 preview. We may or may not get to watch it after all this weekend with the stuff going on with with our little mini staycation in this house. So let's talk about the Brickyard 400 in case we're able to watch it. So this will be the second race back on the oval since they came back last year, when a lot of people complained about that atrocity we call the Indy Road Course, a track I fucking hated along with the majority of the fan base. So therefore, I know there's some people, it was like split. 50% of people enjoyed it and thought it put on a good show, and the other 50% didn't think it was a good show. But hey, I can understand where the people who didn't think it was a good show are coming from, but I personally enjoy that, even though Nemechek kind of shit the bed on that second to last restart with my boy Hemrick before he got demoted back to the Truck Series, when Nemechek was in the catbird seat and he had like a really fast car that could have won the race and pulled off an underdog, crown jewel victory. He led a bunch of laps and had me going crazy in the office. But will he bring that same rocket ship this year? And this time actually close that out if he's in position to? Only time will tell. Tune in this Sunday. And this will be TNT's first ever Brickyard 400, since NBC has been doing it all these years, since the 2006 deal with, the TV contract. And, well, to be fair, in 2007, 2014, they kind of didn't do it because they were out of the sport for, I think, 2007, 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They were out of the sport for 8 years, but when it was announced that TNT was stepping away up until this year, along with the Estupido Pendejo network we call ESPN, well, NBC got the Brickyard 400 back from 2015 all the way until 2024. That included the COVID version and the 4th of July COVID version in 2020 with no fans in the stands, which was one of those races that proved a perfect example of the shitty 550 horsepower package showing some rare flashes of brilliance, because that was some good ass shit even in the 2020 4th of July COVID version, no fans version of the Brickyard 400. So there. 2021, 2023 with that shitty-ass road course Indianapolis layout, NBC had it. And then the first race back on the oval with the 30th anniversary Brickyard 400, NBC had it. But this will be the first one that's ever going to air on TNT. So I hope I'm able to, watch it, with this particular event that's going on this weekend, which is why I'm going to my dad's crib and, my mom and grandfather going out of town to visit my sister, just for that reason. So that's what this, little video is about, along with all the the second second update slash recap on the Spurs offseason and addressing the 2026 NASCAR schedule part, the first of 2026 of many moves to some of the 2026 NASCAR schedule changes so far. So therefore, and before we talk about what we're here really talk about the elephant in the room. My boy Ty Dillon is going for $1 million against Ty Gibbs in in-season tournament. I know a commenter on my YouTube short of me reacting to Ty and John Hunter advancing to the penultimate round of the in-season challenge, the Final Four, which was the MBNA Platinum 400 at Dover that I was gonna watch, but I didn't go to bed soon enough, and I kept waking up over and over in the middle of the night at the crack of dawn to keep going to the bathroom. By the time I fell asleep, I was too comfortable, and I was too comfortable too long. I ended up sleeping through the race, and by the time I woke up, it was already over. So I was bummed about that I couldn't enjoy it or bring you guys a race review on that. So, or my reactions of Ty Dillon and John Hunter Nemechek running so close together, for that last spot in the in-season tournament, the championship round. But okay, so you live and you learn. You can't always get what you want. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. You win some, you lose some. So therefore, I guess onto the Brickyard 400, where hopefully that dude in the 10 car will get that $1 million check, for the in-season tournament, which is basically a modernized version of the Winston Noble 5 program from the Winston Cup days back in the day. So a lot to look forward to this Sunday at the Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis. There's my suitcase right there. I still have to finish packing it, but I want to get this out as soon as possible. So now the elephant in the room. So first of all, the more movement in San Antonio. So first of all, we not only signed my new homeboy that I've picked to be on, who are easy replacing, basically a replacement for Mamu. David Jones Garcia, he basically is pulling a Trey Jones 2021 and tore that shit up like Terry Labonte in the Summer League. But can he do the exact opposite of what Trey Jones did, or technically didn't do? Replicate that Summer League success with the big boy leagues. But in order for him to do that, he has to get enough playing time, because Trey Jones got a shitload of playing time, like in the following years after his rookie season, and barely did next to nothing compared to that Summer League game. And to be fair, the difference between Trey Jones and David Jones Garcia is that Trey Jones only had one monster game, and that was it. I kind of overestimated him, to be fair. But David Jones Garcia was doing this on a consistent basis this year, not just one game. So maybe it'll motivate him. Maybe it'll motivate Mitch Johnson, pop Brian Wright in the front office to give him more than the playing time, than the maximum playing time he deserves to showcase his potential and show us what he can do for the big boy Spurs team. So maybe this will be different from Trey Jones. Who knows? But so therefore we who did we okay oh my god, who else did we get? Okay, besides Cornette and Olenek, and David Jones Garcia, we also we also picked up Lindy Waters III from Golden State. And at first I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Because I had never heard of him once in my life. But TikTok comments were telling me he was a good shooter and has a crazy jumper. So I will take their word for it. And he stayed wearing 43. The last time someone wore the 43 was Linton Johnson in 2005 when the Spurs won their third ring and first without David Robinson. Even though Linton Johnson technically was not on the playoff roster, he also technically was on the Spurs roster overall. So technically he and Sean Marks, who didn't even play a lick of the season that year, ended up getting their rings as a player despite not being on the playoff roster, kind of like Menchke Batir in 2003, wasn't on the playoff roster, but was technically on the overall Spurs roster, so he did get himself a ring, which was David Robinson's last hurrah, and he just went out on top, unlike, sadly, we could not say the same about Duncan in 2016 when we were living La Vida Labyrinth with Kelly Berglund. So, yeah, we did reenact it in my Tim Duncan kind of recreates there during season 4. Spring is in the air. If you want to go look at that, link is in the description if I remember put it there. But anyway, that's beside the point. So not Luke Cornette. Oh my God, what's his name? Oh my God, Mark, how the fuck did you forget? Lindy Waters III. So therefore, if he's wearing the 43, last ridden by Linton Johnson, and was Richard Petty's number in NASCAR, at least someone represents the Pettys well, unlike some fraud in Cleveland with his grandson's number, which we do not speak about that because that's basically an insult to the Petty family, especially Adam and Kyle, since Kyle drove the car after his son died, after parking the 44 midway through the season, but that's neither here or there. So maybe, he could show us what he can do if he gets enough playing time. But who's going to be buried in the bench, I don't know. But, but as far as Blake Wesley goes, I guess Washington did not want him. So therefore, the Blazers picked him up. So therefore, he's going to be a good backup to Damian Lillard, who just recently decided to come back home to the Portland Trail Blazers like he never left. Basically Sean Elliott 1993-94 when we traded him to the Pistons for Dennis Rodman. So therefore, and then when Houston tried to get him, he failed his physical because of his kidney disease, and that's when the Spurs picked him back up. So therefore, he's probably going to make it look like, going to leaving Portland never happened, since the truth is, honest truth, Milwaukee just didn't work out for him. So therefore, I bet you 20 years from now, when he's like commentating on TV after he's retired, he's going to do the same thing as Sean Elliott and not count Milwaukee as part of his career, that he was a Blazer for life. Kind of like how Sean Elliott doesn't count the Pistons, that one season with the Pistons as part of his career, that he was always a Spur for life. And I can understand why. Kind of like how I still don't want to believe Tony Parker left in his final season to go play in Charlotte. And I wish he would have finished his career in San Antonio like Duncan and Ginobili did, so he could have one last playoff hoorah in 2019 even if he was the only one by himself after Duncan and Ginobili would have left him hanging if he and DeJounte Murray would have worked their shit out. But, unfortunately, we cannot have nice things. So, therefore, I'm happy for, Dame and Blake Wesley. My homeboy's going to be a good backup for him. Now, before we get to the last part of the Spurs, off-season recap update. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Now that, Mamu's gone, Mamu's down in Toronto. Branham is now in Washington. B-Wes is now in Portland. But now that I think of it, watch those dudes turn into prime Michael Jordan now that they're like out of San Antonio and like on a team that will give them the more playing minutes than Pop Brian Wright in the front office and Mitch Johnson ever did. Because this is what always fucking happens in modern day this modern day post-Duncan Spurs era. Every time some son of a bitch leaves the Spurs, they go to other teams, get more playing time than they did in San Antonio, and turn into prime MJ. It's like, I don't fucking understand. It's like, I mean, all those same dudes I'm talking about, like, DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Lonnie Walker IV, DeMar DeRozan. I bet you Mamu's going to be the next one on the list, along with B-Wes, and, what's his name? Malachi Branham. I'm sure they did that shit in San Antonio quite a bit too. But every Spur that has left the team has turned into a star elsewhere, and they have more like prime Michael Jordan type games that they're like newer teams more that they do it more with the teams they're on now, the teams that go on after their time with the Spurs is done than they ever did with the Spurs. Like, you asshole, you couldn't do that for the Spurs on a consistent basis more than you did. Dear Lord, I fucking hate it here. So I'm calling it right now. Mamu, B-Wes, and Branham are going to get more playing time in Toronto, Portland, and Washington, and they're going to turn into prime Michael Jordan and, do more of that shit with their new teams than they ever did in San Antonio. It's like, every fucking time, man. I don't know what the fuck's going on with Bassie, though, because I know he's, like, auditioning for the Celtics, and basically this confirmed the Spurs got rid of him. They just haven't officially announced it yet. And here, when I thought, when we signed Carter Bryant after drafting him, and he took J-Mac's old number, I thought J-Mac was gone, but glad I was wrong. He'll be my B-Wes replacement, but again, he'll have to pick a different number since, Kobe's nephew took his number. Just do not take Bonner's number, or Rose's number, or Mills's number. That's all I ask you for. Because those numbers should be, at least in San Antonio. I don't know about other franchises, but they're all-time greats that have not had their jersey retired yet. at least as a Spurs fan in my book, the 15, 8, and 31 should ever be disallowed from ever being used in San Antonio again until they get the funding or whatever, however they set up these jersey retirements to retire those numbers in the SBC Center where they belong, in the rafters. But if they even consider it, and they don't do it before they move to the new arena downtown when the SBC Center hits its official expiration date, then they can just do it down there. So therefore, yeah, because, Mills, Bonner, and Rose all contributed to championship-winning teams in San Antonio over the years, while nobodies like Nick Collison, even no matter how much of an impact he played at Seattle OKC, did not do that. So that's... I know people want to say, but Mark, there's a difference between the Spurs and the franchise like the Thunder. It's not the difference that you lemmings think it is. The true difference, which is the only difference, is that at least Malik Rose, Matt Bonner, and Patty Mills in San Antonio over the years combined contributed to championship-winning teams. Did Nick Collison fucking do that? Absolutely not. And that dumbass who wanted to tell me that on TikTok is a Timberwolves fan and talking about Malik Sealy. He only retired his jersey number out of respect because he passed away, and he spent more in Minnesota than he did any other team he played. But if you are watching this, you dumbass, it's pretty sad. You should be judging teams on whether or not the other teams other than your own, that whether they should or should retire all-time team grades numbers, because your team hasn't even retired your franchise's best player of all time yet, as in Kevin Garnett, who Boston had to borrow from your team to go get themselves a ring in the modern era and give him a ring for his to solidify his career. But at least he kind of got half redemption by coming back to Minnesota to finish his career there the same year Duncan and Kobe played the final year. But yeah, so I just wanted to get that little mini rant out of my way. But, so I don't know what the fuck's going on with Bassey. But once I find out the official confirmation of whether the Celtics officially pick him up, if he shows out in Boston Summer League as an audition, or if a different team picks him up, then I will have it addressed for you in its own separate news update video. But, okay, but the last part of the Spurs stuff, news update I'm going to talk about is, Chris Paul going back to the Los Angeles Clippers to finish out his career, because, he's basically the modern day version of Robert Horry from a Spurs fan's point of view. We hated Robert Horry as a Laker a long time ago, way back in the day, but loved him as a San Antonio Spur. But Chris Paul was the same way. We hated him as a New Orleans Hornet / Pelican and Los Angeles Clipper. And we loved him as a San Antonio Spur when he was hitting shots for us for once instead of against us. 2015, Game 7, round 1. I really don't want to talk about that, even though that doesn't haunt me nearly as much as 2013, Game 6 of the finals, when we were 28 seconds away from what would have been our 5th championship at the time. But, we don't ever talk about that in ever. Not on this channel, not any other social media platform in general, not ever. Unless you're one of those lemmings that want to ram that 2013 bullshit down our throats, but refuse to talk about what happened the next year like it doesn't exist or mean a goddamn thing. But, I'm happy for Chris Paul for, going back to his old roots, considering more people know him as a Clipper. The majority know him more as a Clipper, more than they do as a New Orleans Hornet Pelican, unless you're like an OG that followed the NBA before he became a Clipper. But the majority knows him more as a Clipper, so it's kind of fitting that he finished his career there. So, even though he's going to be playing with Jailbreak, he that shall not be named, and, Patty Mills was on there too, but I don't know if he's going to stay there or, another team's going to pick him up. And I know damn well there's, Avery and TP with all the franchise, all-time great point guards that had an impact on the Spurs more than any other team. I know Mills, therefore, ain't coming back for damn sure. But, he had to pick number 88 to wear in the Clippers, since I don't know if 8's retired on the Clippers, or Clippers haven't even retired jerseys, or someone already took it. But, it doesn't really matter what he does, what number he picks, whatever teams he goes to until he retires, because in terms of retiring his jersey in San Antonio, because he's not even retired yet. So, but I'm just preparing just in case, no idiot in San Antonio decides to take his number. Like, a few idiots took Bonner's number. 3 idiots took Bonner's number. Well, 1.5 idiot took Malik's number. So we know KBD, that imposter, took his number. He never should have been allowed to take it. And Nathan Mensah, even though he's in the summer league now, the team, he's still in the summer league team, but the big boy Spurs waived him. Hopefully the big boy Spurs don't pick him up, meaning he'd be the second dumbass imposter to take Malik's number, and then it, stalls any progress that 31 has of getting retired from Malik. So therefore, you get where I'm coming from. But now that Chris Paul's gone, the elephant in the room about the Chris Paul thing, does that mean Keldon Johnson will get his number 3 back, or do they still have that stupid rule where you have to wait 2 full years to to change your number, where you have to use the same number for 2 full seasons before you can have the ability to change it at all? I remember that's what they did with Danny Green, when he wore the number 4, because Gary Neal had 14 as college number. But even after Gary Neal left after the 2013 heartbreak, the NBA still made Danny Green keep the number 4 for 1 more full season, because of a rule they had where you couldn't change the jersey by choice until you at least went 2 full seasons with the same number. So he had to wear the number 4 for 13-14. He won the championship with it. And then he switched back to his college number for 14-15, 15-16, 16-17, and 17-18. So, therefore, I don't know if they still have that rule or if they abolished it to the point where, hopefully, if they abolished it when they didn't even say anything, that means maybe Keldon can switch back to his jersey number 3 like nothing ever happened. But only time will tell. But anyway, now let's talk about the other part of the second half of this news update video regarding NASCAR's, first move of, changes regarding the 2026 schedule in comparison to 2025.
2 hours later.
All right, laundry's all done for tonight. We're all set like Jimmy Johnson for our staycation. After we get done recording this video and finishing packing the suitcase for my trip to my dad's crib and the Brickyard 400 on the go, possibly. So, NASCAR. So, where do we begin with this? So, NASCAR officially confirms that not only that the Chicago street course is off the schedule, at least for next year only, with beyond that, unknown, but in return, it's getting replaced by the San Diego, a military base, military base for Father's Day weekend, in which, Mexico City, it might have to they're probably going to move it to the Fox portion of the year, and that is going to be a bitch, because Fox's NASCAR coverage is dog shit, absolute fucking dog doo-doo, ever since, 2001 through 2000, 2014, 15-ish, was it like pre-NASCAR and Fox. 2016 and 17, it wasn't too bad, but 2018 is when it started running out of gas. To me, that's how I look at it. So, I don't know how that's gonna go. I don't know how the Viva Mexico 250 is how that's gonna go. And the Fox portion of the year, that can only mean one thing: with Mexico getting moved towards the beginning of the year, and the San Diego replacing Chicago, I can only mean one thing: the 4th of July slot is open. So it's an empty void that needs to be filled. And NASCAR's been, teasing the possible return of the Tropicana 400 at Chicagoland Speedway. And if that turns out to be confirmed, they better put that shit on the 4th of July weekend, because no matter if it's 80 degrees or whatever, if they're having unless they're having a black party in Sandy Ridge again, well, we'll have to see what Jerry Springer Man does for season 6 of Fun in the Sun next year for 4th of July. But if they're not going to have a party again next year, and they put Chicagoland back on 4th of July for the Tropicana 400, I am so in, because you know why? Because damn well with how amazing Gen 7 races at intermediates. Some intermediates were still stinkers, but the intermediates for the most part have been fantastic. Well, except in recently, at least this year, they slightly have been going in the wrong direction. But we've never seen the Gen 7 race at Chicagoland Speedway before. So if they put the Gen 7s on the Chicagoland court, Chicagoland circuit and, turn the Winston Cup cars loose on that track with this generation of car and the package they run, I feel like it would put on a hell of a damn good show. Just as good as, that, what was that? 2018, holy shit finish with Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, dating back to when I was still literally the number one Kyle Larson hater. And it was in the 42 like a Ganassi. But man, that would be awesome. We'll just have to wait and see. So therefore, yeah, I'm actually going to check this out, even if it's 80 degrees, just to see what it'll actually be like, considering even though it was nice weather on June 15th, on mine and Aaron Krause's friend anniversary, we still decided, you know what, we ain't missing this for the world. Maybe we'll have Aaron Krause and, Madison see our postings of us wishing on them happy friend anniversary while we're watching NASCAR and doing Viva Mexico on Father's Day and our friend anniversary with them. And I made sure to tell Peyton, tell them happy friend anniversary that day, since they were most likely not going to be here in Sandy Ridge for that day, in which they weren't, obviously, and that I was going to be watching Mexico. So I really didn't want to miss it for that reason alone. And it turned out to be a fun one, with SVG dominating and scoring an underdog win on a dominant underdog win on the road course, on the run his bread and butter road courses, and JHN getting a top 6 finish. And some of my other homies are running good, except Riley got spun out late in the going, and that kind of ruined his decent run he was having. But he didn't do himself any favors with that unsafe rejoin, but I've kind of forgiven him for that, so I've kind of let him off the hook since then, because he'll learn from it, because he's not as terrible as he once was in the beginning of his Busch Grand National career at Joe Gibbs. Obviously he's a rookie, which is why he's towards the bottom of the point standings, and I'm sure he'll get better. I hope so, since he's 23-11, but I have my doubts. The only way that he skyrockets if he pulls a Harrison Burton Pepsi 400 2024 and wins a restrictor plate race to get himself in the chase, even though, sadly enough, as a Riley fan, if that would have happened, he wins the Pepsi 400, he's just going to be an automatic first-round exit like SVG, unless SVG has the ability to prove us wrong, considering we'd have 2 rookies in the chase that, even though I'm a Riley fan, damn well you don't belong there. I mean, SVG at least has a somewhat of a legitimate case, with the Charlotte Roval. If he can survive the first round of the chase for the Cup, then he has a good shot at making the round of 8. If he can survive the first round, make it to survive the round of 16, make it to the round of 12, win the Charlotte Roval, and advance to the round of 8, even if he doesn't make it to the Final Four. He could make a deep chase run if he can play his cards right in the round of 16. You just never know what's going to happen next. But yeah, NASCAR racing on the military base in San Diego, I'm really excited for that. I'm really looking forward to it. I will tune in. I might tune into all 3 races just for the hell of it, even if it's 80 degrees. But a lot could change between now and Father's Day 2026, which is, I don't know when the June MIS race is going to be. So the Sirius Satellite Radio 400, if my dad is open to making a return, then yeah, we will definitely go again, and fulfill our end of the bargain by making that anticipated 2026 return to MIS. But if in the end we don't, then okay, fine. Then, because I know a lot can change from the time we did originally say that after the last tour on 2023. For now, quote unquote, for now, and I can change between now, that time period, and when we finally get to June 2026, when it's time to go racing at MIS. So if we end up not going next year, which this year we're not going, was blessing in disguise, where Emily met all those people in Sandy Ridge, then maybe we'll invite Emily over MIS again for the Sirius 400. So basically, that's all I wanted to talk about. But in NASCAR, besides the Brickyard for the preview in the beginning, I will see you all for the next video, whatever that may be. And no Sandy Ridge content, at least the Sandy Ridge content has been slacking this summer, and I apologize for that. But we're not planning any Sandy Ridge content until Tuesday the latest / earliest. So I promise you, since we're getting to the closing stages of season 5 of Fun in the Sun, and the Corn Fest coming up with the spicer we're going to put on Friday, and whatever the fuck might happen on Saturday, the day in between the Corn Fest and Emily's birthday race, the Sirius Satellite Radio at the Glen. I mean, we're gonna record a lot of shit for that race with Emily, Susie V, and hopefully Kathy if she can make it. And if Susie can make it, to be fair as well. But you know, whether Emily and I are joined by Kathy and Susie or whether we're just by ourselves, we will record our reactions in case it comes down to a late caution restart. We got the Cornfest vlog coming, the annual yearly traditional summer randomness to kick off the month of August. And then we got the college farewell tour coming. You know, the start of football season in the nation we call Northeast Ohio will be starting before the Fun in the Sun ends and before season 5, and even before the end of Summer Explosion take place. I most likely will not be recording Cedar Point with my work for the end of Summer Explosion this year because, you know, not all traditions are meant to last forever. I mean, part of this tradition is getting axed for reasons I will not get into, but I will definitely try to record something, you know, in the days after that. Maybe something, because, you know, my tradition juice has been really taking a toll on us in some departments of tradition. But, you know, when we get back from the staycation on Tuesday after my doctor appointment on Monday, then we'll try to plan some Sandy Ridge content. We'll go smooth sailing and free game through the rest of the month of July and all of the month of August until it's time for the end of Summer Explosion and season 5 finale of Fun in the Sun. Have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Good night, and I will see you all for that next video, whenever that may be. See you later, everyone. Go Spurs, go Spurs, bitch. Oh mama, Wembenyama, swipe on the fox. Let's go racing at the Brickyard, boys. Go Spurs, go!
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.